Man, have I reviewed a lot of Hondas on this channel, but oh, have I been waiting for this. This FN2 Civic Type R has always been one of my favourite cars. You see, to me, the EK9 and EP3 are getting a bit old and basic to live with every day. The FD2 is very capable, but with them all being Japanese imports, they have very sparse interiors with almost no features. And then the latest two. Both are extremely capable cars whilst remaining reasonably livable. However, from my experience they shock you with their performance, but lack the zingy 8500 RPM exhaust note and the totally analog feeling controls from the older models, not to mention the $60,000 price tag which puts them well out of reach of most people. Now don't get me wrong, I love every Type R that has ever been and would take them all home if I could, but to me this FN2 is the perfect mix of performance, affordability and daily drivability. The styling is certainly different, with triangular exhausts and fog lights, and door handles that look like the ones on a 1960s fridge. The deep front and rear bumpers along with the side skirts and spoiler certainly give it a sportier appearance, and the attractive 7-spoke alloys complete the package. What I appreciate about the design of this car is that Honda didn't overdo it. It looks different and sporty, but not boy racery. If you got one in silver and took the Type R badges off, few would have any idea you're in something special. I mean, the Civic Sport of today looks sportier and it's not even a Type R. The engine has always been a point of controversy. I did some searching around trying to find a way to prove it isn't as bad as people think, but truth be told, when compared with the JDM EP3, this is a big step backwards. The K20Z4's 201 horsepower is 11 less than its predecessor, and torque is 9 less at 193 Nm, and a car that weighs 90 kg more. The power, torque and VTEC do come in slightly earlier, but in reality the EP3's engine is just straight up better, and this really should have had a stronger engine like the one fitted to the FD2 from the same year. But the power it does have is sent through a lovely 6-speed manual transmission onto 18-inch 225mm wide tyres. The suspension is an interesting one. It keeps the McPherson strut in front from the EP3, but the double wishbone in back is replaced with a cheaper torsion beam. The FN2 was criticised for being a lot less playful and more understeery, but from my experience, I'd take understeer over liftoff oversteer any day, because it was the frankly dangerous nature of the latter that got me into a few close calls, and eventually resulted in the death of my DC5. Now we move into the real reason why I think this is the perfect Type R. The interior features. This one isn't an especially good demonstration because it's a JDM spec with limited features like the FD2, but most of the EDM ones came fully loaded, so I'll just overlay footage of what they should look like if it had them. It's got fully automatic dual zone climate control, steering wheel mounted radio controls, cruise control, automatic lights and windscreen wipers, a very comprehensive trip computer, reversing camera, parking sensors, heaps of places to put stuff around the cabin, an aux input, and some even had Bluetooth hands-free phone. No kidding, the higher spec models of this Type R have more features than my Accord besides the heated electric leather seats. But the FN2 suede seats are very comfortable and it's easy enough to get in the back with the pull of a single lever. Once you're back there, the red and black theme is carried over, and there's a decent amount of head and legroom. The boot space is decent, and the seats fold completely flat. You see, this is what I mean. The FN2, while not the best performing Type R, it's easily the most feature-rich and affordable option. It's the car you could live with every day, and still take to the track on the weekends and feel like you belong. Now let's take it for a spin. Okay, here we are in the mighty FN2 Civic Type R. Fires right up. I love that start button, that's cool. Wow man, the first thing I notice when I'm driving it is that I'm sitting behind a Honda Jazz steering wheel in a Honda Jazz sized car, but wow, it does not feel like a Honda Jazz. The steering is incredibly direct and there's no body roll at all. The clutch is decently light, and what I really like about this is that the clutch is so linear. It's just, there's no springy point or anything. It's just really controllable. There's a lot of feel to it. Now Jeremy Clarkson, when he reviewed this, said that the ride was awful, and I'll be honest, man, it jiggles you around a little bit, but the seats are actually quite supple and quite supportive. The torque is definitely noticeable. Now, I thought my Accord was decently torquey, but this thing, 4th gear, put your foot down a bit, it just responds. It's phenomenal. I'm noticing there is just a little bit of rev hang. I can't tell if this thing is a cable throttle or an electronic throttle, but there is just a little bit. I don't know, it seems reasonably direct. The gear ratios are definitely short. The fact that I can cruise around up hills in 4th gear and still be doing over 2000 RPM shows how short they are. It really is good fun just to throw around these corners. It feels, steering is so direct, you just know exactly what it's doing. Let's take it through some of these corners here. Wow, handling is really good, man. It's super easy to rev match in this thing. Put my foot down. Wow, yep, this thing moves. Definitely got a substantial amount of power. Oh man, downshifting in this is so satisfying. It's just easy to do. You can just nail every one, man. Look at that. Look at how easy that is. And then you just turn in and nail it out of the corner. Wow, you can really hear the VTEC, that's for sure. So far from my perspective driving this thing, the performance is perfectly adequate. Here we go. Man, it moves. It really moves. Far out. To me, that seemed pretty quick. Handling's good. Right, here we go. I did notice a little bit of torque steer there, that's for sure. The steering wheel was being yanked a little bit to the left. Throw it into a corner here, see what it can do. Oh mate, this thing handles like a dream. It's so stable. Wow, that's like it's like a go-kart. Holy moly. This is what I mean, right? In my mind, the way I measure a car's fun level is in how much of a smile it puts on your face, right? If you can see what my face looked like right now, you would know exactly what I mean. The steering, I mean, it's a little heavy because it's, you know, designed to be direct and sporty, but it's not unbearably, you know, annoying. I can still drive with one finger if I want to, you know, it's not that heavy, just to put that in perspective. You're sitting to hear the old VTEC kick, that's for sure. Man, this thing moves and it's so direct. Wow, like the gear change on this just feels awesome. I've never driven this car before. I've driven it for about 10 minutes and I already feel like a pro. I feel like I know the limits of the car. Put your foot down. Yeah, it just responds, eh? You take your foot off, it's just off straight away. There's no waiting around. It just does exactly what you want. It's phenomenal. And you could argue that I'm being biased here because this is the only Type R I've driven, but it's not. I have driven the latest one, and honestly, the exhaust note does not sound like that. It's not, you don't get the VTEC sound. It doesn't rev to 8,000 RPM. The gearbox and clutch still feels absolutely amazing, and the steering likewise. So the driving feel and stuff is the same, if not better. But it doesn't have that exhilarating noise, and you don't feel like you're driving it. You feel like it's driving you, if you know what I mean. So yeah, to conclude, I want to finish off by thanking Axel for bringing out this car for me to come and test drive. It's been a blast. It makes me want one because it is definitely a awesome little machine. That concludes this episode of Kiwi Car Life. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you guys next Sunday at 9 PM. Yeah, see you then.